r/pettyrevenge my ex destroyed our family so I quit and exposed their lies. Hashtag the email that changed everything. I stare at the screen for what feels like the 100th time that morning, reading the same 17 words that have hollowed out my chest. Asterisk, I've decided to be honest with myself. I want a divorce. Don't come home. Asterisk. That's it. 17 words. 8 years of marriage, 2 kids, a shared business, a mortgage, a life we built together, reduced to a text message at 6:47 a.m. while I'm sitting in a hotel conference room in Portland, waiting to present our Q3 strategy to the Hendricks account. My hands are shaking. I set the phone down on the laminate desk and stare at the blank PowerPoint on my laptop. The presentation glows back at me. All those carefully crafted slides about brand positioning and quarterly projections suddenly feel like they belong to someone else's life. Because they probably do. I pull up my calendar. Sarah, my wife, though apparently not for much longer, was supposed to pick up the kids from school today. I text her back, asterisk, are you serious right now? Asterisk. She doesn't respond. Of course she doesn't. The thing is, I've been feeling something off for months. The way she'd stay late at the office on days when I wasn't there. The way she positioned her phone face down on the kitchen counter when I walked in. The increasingly hostile comments disguised as jokes. Last month, she'd said, you know, you're really not the man I married. You've become so selfish. Everything's always about you. I remember that comment specifically because I just finished taking our son to his soccer tournament solo while she said she had a headache. I'd been too tired to argue. But this text felt different. Final. Absolute. I call my mother-in-law, Patricia. We've always gotten along well, or so I thought. She picks up on the third ring. David? Is everything okay? Her voice has that strained quality it gets when she's worried about Sarah. Patricia, Sarah just texted me asking for a divorce. I'm in Portland for work. The kids are still at school. I don't even understand what's happening. There's a pause. Too long of a pause. Sarah's been very unhappy, Patricia says carefully. She's mentioned some things to me. What things? We've never even talked about. I think you should call her. I shouldn't be in the middle of this. She hangs up before I can respond. That's when I know something is very, very wrong. I leave the conference room and take the call outside, pacing the hotel parking lot like some kind of caged animal. Sarah picks up on the fourth ring. I'm not doing this over the phone, she says before I can even speak. Then when? When were you planning to discuss this with me, Sarah? When were you planning to explain why you're suddenly asking for a divorce via text message? I can't do this anymore, David. I've tried. God, I've tried so hard. But you're not present. You're not emotionally available. The kids barely know who you are. I open my mouth. Close it. The accusation is so breathtakingly wrong that I don't even know where to start. I'm the one who does bedtime stories. I'm the one who took off work for 2 weeks when Emma was born and then again when she had her appendix out. I'm the one who coaches Michael's soccer team. That's not fair, I say quietly. That's not even close to fair. This isn't about fair, David. It's about what's best for me and the kids. And then she hangs up. I stand there in the parking lot for probably 15 minutes, phone in hand, feeling like I'm watching my life happen to someone else. Watching from above, from outside. This can't be real. This can't actually be happening. I call my business partner, Marcus, because he's also my friend, or at least I thought he was. We started the marketing firm together 7 years ago, pulled it out of nothing through 12-hour days and ramen dinners. Marcus knows everything about my life. Or he should. Hey man, what's up? He sounds oddly cheerful for 9 a.m. Sarah asked for a divorce. Over text. While I'm in Portland. The pause that follows is deafening. Oh, Marcus says. And that one syllable tells me something I'm not ready to know. David. I think you should probably talk to her about things. Marcus. What things? Look, I can't get involved in this. That's between you two. But his voice has changed. He knows something. He knows something, and he's not going to tell me, and that's when the first crack appears in my understanding of reality. I drive back to the airport and catch the first flight home, my presentation unsent, my phone dark because I can't handle any more communication. The 6 hours give me time to think, which might be the worst thing that could happen to me right now. By the time I get home, it's nearly 8 p.m. Sarah's car is in the driveway. The lights are on. I use my key, my own house, I have to use my key, and find her in the kitchen with a wine glass in one hand and her laptop open in front of her. She looks up, and I see something in her expression that I've never seen before. It's not sadness. It's not anger. It's something worse. It's pity. The kids are upstairs in their rooms, she says carefully. I'd appreciate it if you didn't upset them tonight. Where's Marcus? I ask, even though I don't want to know. Even though the answer is already written in the way she looks at me. He's not here, she says. But he's been here. He's been in this house. In our house. Probably in our bed. How long? My voice sounds like it belongs to someone being strangled. Does it matter? And I realize in that moment that I've lost everything. Not the house. Not the business. Not the money. I've lost the narrative. She's already written me as the villain in this story, the absent, selfish, emotionally unavailable husband. And I walked right into it. Hashtag the diagnosis. I don't sleep that night. I sit in the guest room, because of course I'm in the guest room now, and stare at the ceiling, my mind moving through the facts like someone sorting through wreckage after a disaster. 8 months. That's what I pieced together from the scattered timeline over the next 3 days. 8 months of Marcus coming over when I was working late. 8 months of Sarah's headaches and business dinners and yoga with Jennifer. 8 months of him being in my house, with my wife, while I was out there building the business that he was using to secure their future together. But the affair isn't even the worst part anymore. I realize that by Monday morning. The worst part is my kids. Emma, who's 10, can barely look at me. Michael, 8, keeps asking when I'm going back to work in that careful voice kids use when they're repeating something they've heard an adult say. And when I try to hug Michael on Monday morning, Sarah appears in the doorway like she's been waiting for exactly that moment. Michael, honey, go brush your teeth, she says smoothly. We need to leave for school in 10 minutes. He pulls away from me. Not dramatically. Just pulls away. That's the moment I understand that this has been happening for longer than 8 months. This has been happening in the spaces I wasn't looking. The poisoning of my relationship with my own children has been a slow, calculated process, and I've been too blind, or too trusting, or too stupid, to see it happening. By Tuesday, I've hired a divorce attorney. Her name is Linda Chen, and she's the kind of sharp that makes me think maybe I have a chance after all. She works out of a downtown office that smells like expensive leather and bad news. What are your financial situations, she asks, opening a legal pad with the kind of precision that suggests she's done this 1,000 times before. I explain the business. The joint accounts. The mortgage. The fact that Sarah doesn't technically work, she's the operations manager of our company, which means she signs things and attends meetings and apparently funnels money into accounts I don't have access to. Linda's pen pauses mid-sentence. You have a joint business account that your spouse has independent access to? Yes, but... And you don't know the current balance? No. I've been focused on client accounts. Marcus handles the operations side with Sarah. Linda sets down her pen and looks at me with the kind of expression you'd give a man who just realized he's been driving on a flat tire for 50 miles. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to need you to pull every financial statement you have from the last 18 months. Business accounts, personal accounts, credit cards, everything. And I need you to do it today. Before you say anything else to your spouse or your business partner. My stomach drops. You think there. I think, Linda says carefully, that you need to know exactly what you're dealing with before you sit down across from someone at a negotiating table. The person who knows what they have is always more dangerous than the person who doesn't. So that's what I do. I go to the office on Wednesday morning, the office that suddenly feels like a place I don't belong, and I log into the financial systems that I helped build. And what I find there makes me want to be sick. Over $340,000 has been transferred out of the business operating account over the last 7 months. Transfers to a separate account I don't recognize. The routing number leads to a bank downtown, and the account holder is listed as Patterson Family Trust. Except it's not a family trust. It's a Sarah and Marcus trust, and I can tell from the activity that they've been draining it methodically, carefully, in amounts just large enough to add up but small enough not to trigger attention. There are also emails. I find them in the archived server files because I still have admin access, because I was dumb enough to trust these people with my passwords and my business and my life. Asterisk, he's such an idiot. He still thinks we're discussing the partnership split. I told Patricia to keep him thinking everything's fine until I get the documentation ready. Asterisk. That's from Sarah to Marcus, dated 3 weeks ago. Asterisk, what about the kids? He's going to fight for them. Asterisk. Asterisk, he's not a bad father, but he's not present enough. Once I show the judge the emails about his work trips, the long hours, the way he's neglected them, it'll be easy. People believe what they want to believe, and everyone already knows he's married to his job. Asterisk. I have to sit down. I have to actually pull out the guest room chair and sit because my legs won't support my weight. She's been planning this. Every comment about me being absent, every time she kept the kids away, every performance of my emotional unavailability, it was all documentation. It was all building a case against me. My hands are shaking when I start taking screenshots. Years of IT training kicks in, muscle memory from the early days of the business when I handled all the tech infrastructure myself. I make copies of the financial records. I screenshot the emails. I pull together a file of everything that proves they've been systematically stealing from our company and systematically stealing my children from me. By Thursday, I have 3 separate secure folders with every piece of evidence I need. By Friday, I'm sitting across from Linda again, and she's reviewing everything with the kind of grim satisfaction someone gets when a suspicion becomes confirmation. This is good, she says finally. This is very good. It's not good that they've stolen from you, but it's good that you have proof they've stolen from you. It means they're not in a position to fight as hard as they think they are. What about the kids? I ask. What about the parental alienation? Is that a thing? It is, Linda says. And it's taken seriously. But it's also very difficult to prove in court. It depends on whether there's a pattern of active interference or just time and distance creating separation. Sarah's emails suggest active interference, which is better for you. But we'll need to document everything from here on out. Every time she discourages contact. Every time the kids seem reluctant to spend time with you. Every incident. After I leave her office, I sit in my car for an hour in a parking garage, trying to figure out who I am if I'm not the man Sarah told everyone I was. Because that's the thing nobody warns you about, the lies don't just damage your reputation. They damage your sense of yourself. It's Friday night when I make the decision that changes everything. I'm going to war. Hashtag the point of no return. I don't tell Linda what I'm planning. That's probably the first mistake, but I've learned that lawyers exist in a world of liability and procedure, and what I'm about to do doesn't fit neatly into either category. What I'm about to do is the kind of thing that looks clean in my head at 2 a.m. on a Friday night and potentially catastrophic in the cold light of Monday morning. But I can't see that yet. I can only see the emails. I can only see my son pulling away from me. The first thing I do is secure the evidence. Not just the copies I gave Linda, those feel like they belong to the legal system now, like they're already being processed into something manageable and civilized. What I do instead is create a second set, buried in encrypted cloud storage with backup access points. I'm not thinking about this clearly. I know I'm not. But I'm also thinking more clearly than I've thought in months, because now I can see the shape of what's been happening. The pattern. The deliberation. On Saturday morning, I call an old friend from college. His name is David, and he works in IT security now, the kind of job where he helps companies figure out when their employees are stealing from them. I don't tell him the details. I don't need to. I need to know if someone's been accessing my personal email accounts without authorization, I say. There's a pause. Okay, that's a serious accusation. I know. You need to go to the police if someone's. I know, I repeat. I just need to know if it's possible. And if someone did it, how I could prove it. David agrees to meet me at a coffee shop downtown, and when he arrives, he looks at me like he's trying to figure out if I'm having a breakdown. Maybe I am. The coffee shop is one of those places that smells like expensive espresso and has young professionals working on laptops, and I suddenly feel very old and very visible. We sit in the corner, and I show him my phone with screenshots of things I've noticed. Emails I've sent that I don't remember writing. Passwords I know I didn't change. Account activity at times when I was asleep. Jesus, David says quietly. Yeah, someone's been in your accounts. Probably for months. You can see it in the metadata if you know where to look. Can you prove it? Maybe. Depends on how good they were. But Patterson, if someone's been accessing your accounts without permission, that's a federal crime. Identity theft. Wire fraud if they've used the accounts to do anything. I nod slowly. I haven't thought about what they might have done with my accounts. Haven't let myself think about it. I'm in the middle of a divorce, I tell him. My wife and her business partner have been having an affair. They've been stealing from our company. And they've been poisoning my kids against me. David sets down his coffee. Okay. So you need a lawyer, not a... I have a lawyer. But I need to know what I'm dealing with. I need to know if they've been impersonating me in my emails. That's not something you handle in civil court, David says carefully. That's criminal. I know. We sit in silence for a moment. A barista calls out someone's name. The ambient noise of the coffee shop suddenly feels very loud. Let me look into it, David finally says. Off the books. But Patterson, you need to understand something. If they've committed crimes, and you go after them for it, this doesn't stay contained. This becomes something else entirely. I know he's right. I know that the moment I cross from civil matter to criminal matter, I'm no longer in control of the narrative. I'm handing it over to police and prosecutors and the machinery of justice, which is famously slow and indifferent. But I'm also thinking about the account they created. The $340,000 they've stolen. The emails where they talk about me like I'm a problem to be managed. The emails where Sarah talks about my children like they're assets to be secured. By Sunday night, David has sent me a preliminary report. Someone, almost certainly Sarah, based on the timing and the accounts accessed, has been logging into my personal email from a device I don't recognize since January. Not constantly, but regularly. Enough times to have sent emails as me. Enough times to have read things she had no right to read. I start going through my sent folder with a new understanding of what I'm looking at. Most of it is real. Most of it is my actual communication with clients and colleagues. But there are emails I don't remember sending. Emails to my therapist's office canceling appointments that I never canceled. An email to my mother that's colder than anything I'd ever write, filled with complaints about my family that sound rehearsed. It's like finding out someone's been living in your skin, wearing your face, saying things with your mouth while you were somewhere else entirely. I call Linda on Monday morning before I go to the office. We need to report the identity theft, I tell her. Absolutely. We can include that in the discovery process. No, I say. I mean we need to report it to the police. Criminal fraud. I want them to investigate. There's a long pause. Mr. Patterson, I understand you're angry, but involving the criminal justice system in a divorce. They stole money from our business. They impersonated me in my own email. They accessed my personal accounts without permission. That's not a civil matter, Linda. That's a crime. Yes, and those crimes will significantly complicate any settlement negotiation. They'll eliminate any possibility of maintaining civility with your ex-spouse. And they will almost certainly be used against you in custody proceedings. They're already using me, I say. They've already decided I'm the bad guy. The only thing I can do is prove that they're the criminals. That's the anger talking, Linda says. But there's something else in her voice too. Something that sounds like recognition. Like she's heard this before. Like she knows what comes next. File the police report, I tell her. And prepare for litigation. Real litigation. Not settlement, not mediation. I want everything. The business, the house, the kids. I want them to lose. After I hang up, I sit in my car in the driveway of the house that still legally belongs to me, and I understand that I've just made a choice that can't be unmade. I've chosen war over resolution. I've chosen destruction over damage control. I've chosen to burn it all down and hope I'm the one still standing when the smoke clears. Hashtag the first crack. The police report gets filed on a Tuesday. I don't attend the filing myself, Linda handles it through proper channels, with documentation and everything organized in a way that suggests legitimacy and seriousness. She calls me afterward to say that a detective named Morrison will be assigned to the case, and that he'll want to interview me within the week. This is good, Linda says, but her voice doesn't sound like it believes that. This establishes a timeline. It creates an official record. What she doesn't say is that it also creates a point of no return. I try to keep things normal at work. That's the phrase that keeps running through my head, asterisk keep things normal asterisk, as if normal is still a possibility. As if I haven't already made the decision that blows everything apart. Sarah hasn't come into the office since Thursday, which is unusual. She typically works Monday through Wednesday in a downtown location, managing accounts and client relationships. The fact that she's gone silent feels like a held breath. I'm not stupid enough to think she doesn't know something's happening. The police report would have been filed, and even though the details are confidential, Sarah knows me. She knows the shape of my anger. She probably knew the moment I decided to stop running and start fighting back. On Wednesday, I get a call from Marcus, one of our senior account managers. He's worked with us for 6 years, built his career on the foundation of our client base, and he's always been more loyal to the business than to either Sarah or me specifically. That neutrality made him valuable. It also made him vulnerable. We need to talk, he says. He sounds careful. Rehearsed. We meet in a conference room at 2 p.m., and Marcus brings Robert with him, our HR director, a man I've never particularly liked because he's the kind of person who exists in a permanent state of CYA. He brings a folder. The company has received some concerns, Robert begins, and I already know where this is going. The pattern is too familiar. Someone, almost certainly Sarah, has filed a complaint. Regarding your conduct and potential conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest. I lean back in my chair. I own half this company. Which is precisely why there's concern, Robert says. He opens the folder, and I see the complaint form. It's dated today. There are allegations that you're accessing files without proper authorization, that you've been gathering confidential information, and that there may be an attempt to solicit clients outside normal procedures. Those allegations are false, I say. Perhaps, Robert says. He doesn't sound like he believes that. However, the company has a responsibility to investigate. In light of the ongoing, personal situation, it's been recommended that you take a leave of absence during this investigation. Marcus won't meet my eyes. That's the thing that actually gets to me, not the betrayal itself, but the fact that he's ashamed. He knows this is coordinated. He knows Sarah is executing the plan she's been executing all along, removing me from the equation before I can do damage. I'm not taking a leave of absence, I say. I'm resigning, effective immediately. Robert blinks. He clearly wasn't expecting that. Mr. Patterson. You can send my final paycheck to Linda Morrison's office, I continue, standing up. My lawyer. Everything else goes through her. What I don't say, what I'm barely restraining myself from saying, is that Sarah just made a critical mistake. By trying to push me out, by filing this complaint, she's created a timeline. She's created evidence of her knowing that I'm onto her. She's created a record that will make every subsequent action look like retaliation. I walk out of the conference room, and I'm so focused on the feeling of control that I almost don't notice Marcus following me down the hallway. Patterson, wait, he says quietly. I stop. I shouldn't. Everything in me says I should keep walking, get my personal items from my desk, leave this place and never look back. But something in his voice makes me pause. I didn't know she was going to do this today, Marcus says. She told me yesterday that she wanted to consolidate your role, move you into a different position. She said you've been showing signs of instability. But I didn't know she was filing a formal complaint. It doesn't matter, I tell him. It does, actually, Marcus says. He glances down the hallway, making sure we're alone. Because I've been going through the Stratton account files. I was looking for something Sarah asked me to find last month, and I noticed some irregularities. Transfers that don't match the invoices. Deposits into an account that isn't listed on our official records. My pulse quickens. How much? I don't know exactly. But it looks like at least 6 figures over the past year. Maybe more. Marcus lowers his voice further. Sarah's been sloppy because she thought no one was looking. But if you're going to do this, you need to do it right. You need to get actual documentation. Real proof. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Marcus is quiet for a moment. Because I have 2 daughters. And if someone tried to take me away from them the way your wife is trying to take you away from your kids, I'd hope someone would help me. After Marcus leaves, I go back to my desk and gather my personal items. There's not much, a photo of the kids from last year, before everything fell apart. A plant that somehow survived despite my neglect. The nameplate that says James Patterson, co-founder. I leave the plant. I leave the nameplate. I take the photo. The drive to Linda's office is quiet. I have the windows down, and the October air is cool on my face. I'm thinking about the timeline. Sarah filed a complaint today because she's scared. She's scared because David found the evidence of the account access. She's scared because she thinks I'm moving against her, and she's trying to get ahead of it. But what she doesn't understand is that scared people make mistakes. Scared people act irrationally. Scared people create evidence of intent. When I arrive at Linda's office and tell her what happened, she actually sets down her pen and looks at me with something like respect. You kept your composure, she says. You didn't argue. You didn't threaten her. I left before I could do any of those things, I admit. That's the important part. Linda picks up her phone. Let me call Detective Morrison. What happened today is evidence that your wife is aware you're pursuing this matter. It's consciousness of guilt. As she's dialing, I'm thinking about my son pulling away from me. I'm thinking about my daughter asking her mother why daddy doesn't love them anymore. I'm thinking about the account with $340,000 that Sarah and her partner have stolen, and the emails where they discuss me like I'm a problem to be solved. I'm also thinking about Marcus and his 2 daughters, and the fact that sometimes the people you work with can surprise you. Sometimes they can be witnesses to the truth. Chunk 5. Detective Morrison's office is smaller than I expected. The walls are a bland government beige, and there's a single window that looks out onto a parking garage. He's in his 50s, maybe early 60s, with the kind of face that spent a lot of time listening to people lie. He doesn't look impressed by much. Linda sits beside me, her briefcase open on her lap like a security blanket. Walk me through the timeline, Morrison says. He has a recorder on the desk between us, already running. Starting from when you first noticed the irregularities. I do. I give him dates, account numbers, the things Marcus mentioned about the Stratton account. I tell him about the intercepted email chain, about David and Sarah discussing my removal, like I'm a piece of furniture they need to relocate. Morrison takes notes in a small spiral pad, his handwriting cramped and barely legible. And your husband, he says, not looking up from the pad. My wife, I correct him. Sarah Patterson. Right. Your wife has been making withdrawals and deposits into this account without your knowledge. Without my authorization on the account itself, yes. But not entirely without my knowledge anymore. I discovered what was happening last week. Morrison finally looks up. Why didn't you report this immediately? Because I wanted to understand the full scope first, I say. And because Linda advised me to document everything before making any official accusations. Morrison's eyes flick toward Linda, and there's something in that glance that makes me realize they've encountered each other before. It's not hostile, exactly, but it's not warm either. Professional recognition, maybe. The kind that develops between people who exist on opposite sides of the law. Here's what concerns me, Morrison says, setting down his pen. You've got documentation of financial impropriety. That's real. That's something I can work with. But you've also got a simultaneous personal disaster unfolding, divorce, custody issues, allegations of your own professional misconduct. He pauses. In my experience, people don't always think clearly when those two things are happening at the same time. I'm thinking clearly, I say, but my voice sounds defensive even to myself. Are you? Because it looks to me like maybe you quit your job in a way that could be construed as impulsive. You're gathering information without official authority. And now your wife has filed a complaint against you that, regardless of its merit, creates a narrative that you're unstable. Linda shifts beside me. My client walked away from a volatile situation at his workplace without escalating tensions. That's the opposite of impulsive. Your client's wife just filed a formal complaint alleging unauthorized access to company files, Morrison says. That's not nothing. That's something I have to take seriously. It's also something her lawyer is definitely going to bring up if this gets to trial. The word trial sits in the room like a third presence. So what are you saying? I ask carefully. I'm saying that I believe you that something illegal is happening with those accounts. I'm saying I'm going to investigate. But I'm also saying that you need to let me do my job and you need to back off. No more gathering evidence. No more conversations with employees about what they've noticed. No more amateur hour. The evidence I gathered is tainted, Morrison says flatly. Anything you collected without proper authorization is going to be questioned. Anything Marcus told you is hearsay. If you want this to go anywhere, if you want any of it to be useful, you need to let the professionals handle it. After we leave the police station, Linda is quiet on the drive back to her office. She pulls into a parking garage and finds a spot on the second level, and she sits there for a moment with the engine off before she speaks. He's not wrong, she says. I know. You went into this expecting to control the narrative. But you can't. Once you file a police report, once you involve law enforcement, there are rules. Procedures. Things that happen outside your influence. So what do I do now? I ask. Just wait. Hope that Morrison is thorough enough. Hope that Sarah doesn't disappear the evidence before. You don't do anything, Linda says. You let the system work. In the meantime, you focus on what you can control. Which is what? Your kids, she says. You fight for custody. You document everything, every phone call, every missed pickup, every time she tells them lies about you. You build a case that shows you're a fit parent, that you're not the unstable person she's claiming you are. I've already lost them, I hear myself say. Linda turns to look at me. No. You haven't. Not yet. But you will if you spend the next 6 months obsessing over financial fraud and trying to prove your wife is a criminal. The courts don't care about that the way you think they do. They care about what's best for the children. They care about stability. My life isn't stable. Then make it stable, Linda says. Move into a decent apartment. Get into therapy. Spend time with your kids when you have access. Show up to every court date. Document everything. Be the father she's claiming you're not. I know she's right. I know that the satisfaction of proving Sarah's guilt means nothing compared to the satisfaction of my children looking at me with recognition instead of uncertainty. But knowing it and accepting it are different things. My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah, the children will be ready for pickup tomorrow at 6 p.m. as scheduled. It's a small thing, just scheduling confirmation. But it's formal in a way our communication has never been before. Everything is becoming evidence now. Every message is something that could be presented in court, interpreted and reinterpreted. I text back, thank you. I'll be there, 3 dots appear immediately. They flicker for almost a minute, like she's typing and deleting, typing and deleting. Finally, Sophia asked about you yesterday. My chest tightens. Sophia is my youngest, 7 years old, the one who used to fall asleep on my shoulder watching movies. What did she ask? Another long pause. Then, never mind. It's not important, But it is important. Everything is important now. Every word, every silence, every moment of connection or distance. The evidence isn't just in the accounts and the emails anymore. The evidence is everywhere, and I'm beginning to understand that the most damaging evidence of all might be the one Sarah is building right now, the evidence of what my life has become without my family in it. I text back, I'll give her your love. No response this time. #chunk6. The apartment Linda helped me find is on the 3rd floor of a converted Victorian in Riverside, the kind of place that tries hard to be charming but mostly just smells like other people's cooking. It has 2 bedrooms, one for me, one for the kids when they visit, and a kitchen that's barely large enough for one person to stand in. The furniture is sparse, a bed I bought at a discount warehouse, a second-hand couch from Facebook Marketplace, a dining table that wobbles if you lean on it too hard. It's depressing in a way that feels almost intentional, like the universe is making sure I understand the scope of what I've lost. I've been here 3 weeks. The kids have been over twice. The first visit was awkward in the way that new divorces are awkward, everyone trying too hard to act normal while the absence of normalcy sits in the room like a physical object. I took them to a movie, bought them popcorn, and pretended not to notice that my son wouldn't meet my eyes. The second visit was supposed to last the whole weekend, but Sarah texted on Saturday afternoon claiming that Emma had a school project due Monday that required her to be home. The project, when I checked later through Emma's social media, something Linda advised me to do to document inconsistencies, appeared to be a casual poster board about ocean life. Nothing that required the full weekend. I didn't fight it. Linda's words kept echoing, be the father she's claiming you're not, that means not being difficult. That means being cooperative. That means swallowing the anger and pretending that losing another 8 hours with my children is just fine. It's all fine, everything is fine. Today is Thursday, and I'm sitting in a coffee shop downtown when my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. I answer because these days every unknown number feels significant. Could be a lawyer, could be the police with news, could be my therapist's office confirming my appointment. It's David Stratton. I think we need to talk, he says without preamble. I don't think we have anything to talk about, I reply, but I don't hang up. Sarah's worried about you, he continues, ignoring my statement. She thinks you're becoming obsessive. The way you're reaching out to people at the company, the things you're saying. I quit. I'm not reaching out to anyone. That's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you're telling people that there's an investigation. That financial crimes have been committed. That's damaging, and frankly, it's not helping your custody situation. I go very still. How do you know about my custody situation? Sarah and I are partners in business. She talks to me about her concerns. Including her concerns about your mental state and how it might affect the children. The presumption of intimacy in the word partners isn't accidental. It's a message. We're together. We're a unit. You're outside of it. Is that why you're calling? To tell me I'm crazy? I'm calling as a courtesy, David says, and his voice takes on that patronizing tone that makes my skin crawl. A professional courtesy. You had a good thing here. You threw it away. I get why, you were hurt, you felt betrayed. But there's a way to handle this that doesn't destroy everyone in the process. Everyone. I say. Or just you and Sarah. Your children, he says quietly. There's a scandal building here. Financial investigation, affair allegations, questions about whether you're fit to have custody. You think Emma and Sophia want to go to school and have their friends asking their mother why their father is under investigation? You think your son wants to be the kid whose parents' drama is all over the community? I should hang up. Linda would tell me to hang up, document the call, and send her the recording. But I don't hang up because he's planted something and it's growing. I'm not investigating myself, I say. Sarah and you stole. We didn't steal anything. We made transfers that we were authorized to make. There's nothing illegal about what we did. But there's a lot that's illegal about accessing company files without authorization. There's a lot that's questionable about trying to poison the professional community against us. There's a lot that looks unstable about a man who lost his mind when he found out his wife was unhappy. She's not just unhappy, she's what? Dishonest? A criminal? A liar? And you're going to prove this to a judge how, exactly? By having Detective Morrison investigate account transfers that our accountant says were completely legitimate? By having your friend Marcus testify that he heard us talking about business strategy? The way he says Marcus's name, like a threat, makes something cold settle in my stomach. Did you contact him? I ask. I didn't contact him. But I did have our HR department reach out to clarify some things about his employment status. Seems like he might be worried about whether a company under investigation is really the place he wants to be building his career. He's already revised some of his statements. There it is. The moment I understand that I've lost more ground than I realized. Marcus wasn't on my side because he believed in justice, he was on my side because he thought I was winning. The moment that calculation changed, he was gone. You can't, I start, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. Can't what? He just did. He's already doing it. What I can do, David says calmly, is suggest that we all move forward without further drama. You focus on being the best father you can be. Sarah and I will run the company. If Morrison's investigation finds irregularities, we'll address them. If it finds nothing, everyone moves on. Either way, trying to drag this out and make it public is only going to hurt the people you claim to love. After he hangs up, I sit in the coffee shop for a long time, my coffee growing cold in front of me. The barista starts giving me looks. I'm that guy, the one taking up space, not buying anything else, just sitting and staring at nothing. I pull out my phone and text Linda, we need to talk. Her response is immediate, * my office. 4 p.m. *. I pay for the cold coffee and leave. Outside, the day is bright and ordinary. People are walking past on the sidewalk, living their lives, and none of them are losing their children or watching their professional reputation dissolve or realizing that the person they once shared everything with has weaponized every bit of information they ever shared. On the drive to Linda's office, I keep thinking about what David said, trying to drag this out and make it public is only going to hurt the people you claim to love. He's not wrong. That's the worst part. He's absolutely not wrong. #Chunk7. Linda's office is on the 15th floor of a glass building that smells like expensive leather and the kind of confidence that comes from hourly billing rates that would make most people weep. She's waiting for me when I arrive, and I can tell by the way she's arranged herself, standing rather than sitting, jacket on despite the warmth of the afternoon, that she's already in battle mode. Tell me everything, she says before I've even closed the door. I do. David's call, the veiled threats about Marcus, the implication that going public will hurt the kids, the suggestion that the financial transfers might be defensible. Linda listens without interrupting, her expression growing incrementally more grim with each detail. When I finish, she walks to her window and looks out at the city for a long moment. He called to intimidate you, she finally says. Which means he's scared. You don't make that call unless you're worried about what might come out. He said the transfers were authorized. That there's nothing illegal about them. He said that because he's gambling that you won't push hard enough to prove otherwise. There's a difference between authorized and legitimate, and if we can show that Sarah signed off on transfers that she shouldn't have had the authority to approve, or that David pressured her into approving, or that they were disguised as something other than what they actually were, she turns back to face me. Has Detective Morrison contacted you? Not since I gave my initial statement 3 weeks ago. And you haven't contacted him? No. I didn't want to seem like I was pushing the investigation in a particular direction. Linda sits down, and when she does, I realize how tired she looks. There are lines around her eyes that I don't remember noticing before. I'm going to be honest with you, she says, because honesty is what you need right now, not reassurance. David's threat about Marcus is a real problem. If your primary witness is already backpedaling, that undermines the narrative we're building. The financial case needs to be airtight before we present it to anyone, the police, a judge, anyone. Right now, it's circumstantial. So what do? You let me do my job. You don't contact Marcus. You don't try to reconvince him or convince anyone else in your network. You go home, you be present for your children when they're with you, and you let the legal process work. That could take months. Years. Yes, Linda says. It could. And in the meantime, David and Sarah will be doing everything they can to consolidate their position, which is why we need to be smart about this. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. I open it and my stomach drops. Asterisk, you should see what your kids are saying about you online. Sarah's not making them do this. They're figuring it out all on their own. M asterisk. What is it? Linda asks. I show her the text without speaking. She reads it twice, then hands the phone back to me. Don't respond. Save that message. Forward it to me right now. And then you're going to tell me about your children's social media presence. Emma has Instagram. I think Sophie has TikTok, but I'm not sure. I haven't been checking regularly. I thought that was obsessive behavior. It's not obsessive to monitor your children's public social media accounts when you're in the middle of a custody battle where your parenting is being questioned. Checking is different from stalking. Come here. She pulls up Instagram on her laptop and hands it to me. Emma's account is public. I navigate to her profile with hands that feel numb, and there it is. A series of posts over the past week, each one a small knife. Sometimes your parents are not who you think they are. Trust your gut when something feels wrong. My mom is the strongest person I know and I'm so proud to support her. The comments are worse. Her friends offering support, asking questions, the narrative spreading in real time. Emma doesn't explicitly say anything about me, but she doesn't have to. The implication is clear to anyone reading. When was the last time you saw her? Linda asks. Last weekend. Saturday. She seemed fine. We watched a movie together. Did you ask her about her day? About school? About anything that might be bothering her? I try to remember. I was trying so hard not to be the difficult ex that I barely asked questions. I was performing contentment, performing normalcy, performing the role of father without actually being present in any meaningful way. I didn't, I admit. That's not a failure on your part, Linda says, not unkindly. That's information. Emma's upset, and she's processing it the way 13-year-olds do, publicly, dramatically, and without full context. Sarah's probably not forcing her to post this, but I guarantee Sarah knows about it and isn't discouraging it either. How do I fix this? You don't. Not right now. What you do is reach out to her directly. Not to argue, not to defend yourself, but to ask her what she needs from you. You write her an email, and you copy it to me, so we can use it as evidence of your willingness to engage with her concerns. You tell her that you've been thinking about things, that you recognize she's upset, and that you want to understand what she's feeling. You don't minimize her experience. You don't tell her she's wrong about anything. You simply open a door for her to walk through if she wants to. And if she doesn't? Then we document your attempts and we use it in court to show that you were the parent trying to maintain a relationship while she was being influenced by circumstances beyond her control. After I leave Linda's office, I sit in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes and compose an email to Emma. I rewrite it 7 times. Each version feels either too defensive or too performative, but I finally land on something that might work. Asterisk Emma, I saw your posts and I want you to know that I'm not angry. I'm just sad that things feel so complicated between us right now. I know you're upset, and you have a right to your feelings. I'm here whenever you want to talk, about anything, without judgment. No lectures, no defensiveness. Just your dad who loves you. I miss you, asterisk. I hit send before I can second-guess myself again, and immediately forward the email chain to Linda. Then I drive home to my apartment that smells like other people's cooking, and I sit on the wobbling table in the kitchen, and I wait for a response that might never come. Hashtag chunk 8. The response comes 3 days later, not from Emma, but from David's lawyer. A cease and desist letter arrives at Linda's office, claiming that my contact with Emma constitutes harassment and that any further attempts to communicate with either of my children will result in a motion to suspend visitation rights. The letter is 17 pages of carefully constructed language designed to intimidate, and it works. For exactly 4 hours. Then Linda calls me. They're escalating because they're losing, she says without preamble. Detective Morrison called me this morning. The bank has completed their forensic audit. David and Sarah made 43 transfers totaling $847,000 over 18 months. The transfers were made without proper documentation, without board approval, which they were required to have for amounts over $100,000, and most damning, Sarah's signature on the authorization forms doesn't match her signature on file from 5 years ago. They had someone forge her name. I can't speak. There's more, Linda continues. Marcus came through. He gave a recorded statement to Morrison. He said David told him that they were restructuring assets and that Marcus should keep quiet about it because it would look bad during the divorce. David explicitly acknowledged the divorce and the financial maneuvering to a witness. That's consciousness of guilt. What happens now? My voice sounds like it belongs to someone else. Now we move forward. David and Sarah are going to be contacted by the police. They'll likely retain criminal counsel. The cease and desist is probably a panicked move by their lawyer to try to control the narrative before things get worse. Which they will. I think about the letter. About the threat to my visitation rights. About David's voice on the phone, trying to manipulate me into silence. About Sarah's affair, the lies, the systematic destruction of everything we built together. And I think about Emma, posting cryptic messages online, processing something she doesn't fully understand, caught between 2 parents in a war she never signed up for. Linda, I need to know something. Am I doing the right thing? There's a pause. Then, I can't tell you if you're doing the right thing morally. I can tell you that you're doing the legal thing, the thing that protects your assets and your reputation. I can tell you that David and Sarah were prepared to destroy you, financially and reputationally, while you were still trying to be the bigger person. They were playing chess while you were playing checkers. But whether that justifies how we've responded, that's between you and your conscience. After we hang up, I sit with that for a long time. The story breaks a week later, not through me, but through a business journal that covers white-collar crime. A reporter has been investigating David's company independently, and the police investigation validates her findings. The headline reads, Local Marketing Exec Charged with Fraud, Business Partner Implicated in Embezzlement Scheme. The article is detailed and brutal. It outlines the transfers, the forged signatures, Sarah's cooperation with authorities in exchange for a reduced sentence. It mentions the affair, the planned divorce, the attempted character assassination of a business partner who discovered the scheme. My name appears in the article, but not as a villain. As a witness. As someone who had the integrity to report financial crimes despite the personal cost. Within 24 hours, the story is picked up by local news. By 48 hours, it's everywhere in the business community. David's professional reputation collapses in real time. Companies drop his consulting contracts. Industry associations distance themselves from him. The conservative parents that Sarah was so concerned about disappointing. They're calling her lawyer, horrified. My phone starts ringing. Clients I thought were lost are reaching out, asking if I'm starting a new firm, interested in coming back. Colleagues I haven't heard from in months are texting their support. My ex-wife's lover is suddenly toxic in their social circles, and she's collateral damage. It should feel like victory. It doesn't. Emma calls me on a Thursday evening. Just calls, no text, no preamble. Hi, Dad, she says, and her voice is smaller than I remember. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I deleted my posts, she says. All of them. Mom wasn't making me say those things, but she was kind of happy when I did. Like she was proud of me for being on her side. And I didn't understand what was actually happening. I just knew that you were gone and she was sad, and I thought it was your fault. I can hear her breathing on the other end of the line. I can hear the courage it took to make this call. I understand, I tell her. You were processing something really complicated, and you did the best you could with the information you had. The news articles are saying Dad did something illegal. Is that true? Yes, sweetie. He and your mother made some choices that were against the law. I had to report them because that was the right thing to do, even though it hurt our family. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with the consequences of that. She's quiet for a moment. Then, can I ask you something? Are you okay? And that question, that simple, genuine question from my 13-year-old daughter, cracks something open in me. All the months of performing strength, of trying not to burden her with my pain, suddenly feel less important than honesty. Honestly? Not really. But I will be. I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to be present for you and Sophie, and we're going to figure this out together as a family. Okay. Okay, she says. Dad? I'm sorry for the posts. I'm sorry for what I said. You don't need to apologize. You needed time to understand what was happening. You have it now. That's what matters. We talk for 40 minutes. She tells me about school, about a boy she's thinking about liking, about how confused she's been. I listen without trying to fix anything, and it's the most honest conversation we've had in months. When we hang up, I sit in my apartment that no longer smells like other people's cooking because I've finally started actually living here. I think about David, about to face criminal charges. I think about Sarah, trying to navigate a divorce while dealing with the fallout of her own choices. I think about the business we built together, now dissolving into legal battles and recriminations. And I think about Emma's voice, asking if I'm okay. The revenge I sought, public, total, devastating, has arrived. David's career is over. Sarah's reputation is shattered. My clients are returning. My professional standing is restored. But what I actually won wasn't any of that. What I won back was the possibility of my daughter calling me and asking how I am. The chance to rebuild something real instead of just defend against lies. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. Sometimes it's just showing up, being honest, and letting the truth speak for itself. Sometimes it's getting your daughter back.